Welcome back into News Talk. We are joined this morning by Kansas Senator Roger Marshall. The senator recently traveled to Mexico City with Kansas ag leaders as trade talks near the United States-Mexico-Canada agreement heads towards renegotiation. Senator, thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Brittany, it's great to be with you. It's great to be back. I was going to go duck hunting this weekend, so we better keep an eye on that weather.
I know it. Lots to come. Now, let's talk with the renegotiations. As the United States-Mexico-Canada agreement is protecting, why is it protecting this trade deal so critical for Kansas farmers?
Yeah, well, Britain, since USMCA was first done, American ag exports, Kansas ag exports to Mexico have increased 50%, $2 billion. So Kansas agriculture is exporting $2 billion of our grains and milk products to Mexico. So it's our best customer. 80% of our ag exports from Kansas go to Mexico. We want to make sure they keep going there, and there's great opportunity to grow that market as well.
Now, why is Mexico such an important buyer to Kansas commodities?
Well, you know, we're so blessed. We take food for granted here in Kansas, but we can grow more than we can possibly eat. Our dairy industry is the fastest growing dairy industry in the entire country right now. We have cheese factories coming online as well. We have 9 ethanol plants. Those are all ag products that Mexico needs. They simply cannot make enough milk, make enough bread, all those types of things. They take our corn and they feed it to their pork, to their chickens, those types of things. So they need us.
Yeah. Now, we have to talk about beef. That's a hot topic here. Why is Mexico such an important player in buying Kansas beef?
Well, I think what's more important is how America depends upon hamburger from Mexico.
Sure.
So every year, about 1 million head of cattle from Mexico cross the border, live cattle, come into Texas. They end up in our feedlots in Kansas as well. Because of the screw worm, which came across during the immigration crisis, where that import of beef has stopped for right now.
Sure.
So we need that hamburger. If you want the price of hamburger to come down in the store, we need to figure out how to stop the screwworm, and we're working on it. We've got great labs going right now to stop it.
Now, Senator, I do want to shift gears from agricultural and trade to some broader issues, national and internationally. Now, do you support President Trump's efforts to acquire Greenland, and are you concerned about potential European Union trade retaliation and how that could hurt Kansas producers?
Look, I think that people need to realize that when President Trump is talking, he's negotiating, and I wouldn't overreact to his negotiations. Look, for over 100 years, all presidents have thought Greenland was vital to our national security, that the shortest distance between Russian missiles and Wichita, Kansas would go right over Greenland. As we're developing this Golden Dome, that's the perfect place to place interceptor missiles. In 3 to 4 years, we'll have lasers to do that as well. So he's simply negotiating. There's not going to be any military action against Greenland, and frankly, Europe's not done a good job. If it wasn't for 100,000 American troops in Europe, in addition to all the other things we do, they would be speaking Russian right now. That not even half of the NATO countries in Europe are spending 2% of their GDP to be able to protect themselves.
Now, President Trump has also said that he's weighing possible military actions in Iran. Do you support that level of involvement?
Look, I think everything is on the table.
Sure.
I would like to do everything possible to avoid that, but the Iranian leadership has murdered 20,000 people so far. So it's really hard as Americans to sit there and watch someone murder their own people. So hopefully there's better ways to take care of that, but time will tell.
Yeah. Now, if President Trump were to invoke the Insurrection Act and deploy military personnel in Minneapolis, per se, amid anti-ICE protests, would you support that decision?
Yeah, I would, but I'm calling on everybody to turn the temperature down in Minneapolis. I think that there's things the local government can do. There's probably some things that the federal government can do as well. But the emphasis, President Trump ran on one thing, the safety and security of your family. Right now, we have, 10, 20 million illegal immigrants came into the country under Joe Biden. Along with that, there's 300,000 or 400,000 violent illegal aliens in this country as well. And President Trump is committed to removing those violent illegal criminal aliens.
Well, Senator, I just want to say thanks so much for coming on the program. We always appreciate you coming.
Great to be with you, Britton.
All right, everyone stick around. We'll be right back. All right, and still ahead on Eye on Agriculture, cattle supplies are being strained across the country, including here in Kansas. We hear from local cattle sellers and a restaurant owner to see what's happening.